welcome to my knitting podcast. My name is Sarah, and I hope that you have been having a good few weeks. I last uploaded about 2 weeks ago, and I've been getting a lot of knitting done on quite a few focused items. It's now the 30th of May. I recorded this podcast that you are watching currently on the 2nd of April, and in the time since then I had a pretty bad wrist injury, so I couldn't do any knitting, and I was miserable to be reminded of the knitting that I couldn't be doing. So it's pretty much healed up now, and I'm finally getting around to editing this podcast. So I hope that you enjoy watching it, and I will hopefully have a new episode up really soon, because it has been 2 months since I recorded that, and I've been able to knit for about 3 weeks of that. So hope you enjoy the podcast, and I will see you again very soon. There's an alarm that just started outside my window. I hope that you can't hear that. I wonder what it is. Hopefully it will just turn off soon. So that's, hopefully it will resolve itself soon. It's not got anything to do with me. It's probably like a car or something. Anyway, I have 2 finished objects for you today, and I have 2 works in progress. So let's get started. I'm not wearing my first finished object because it's kind of warm, but I finished my Lakes pullover by Ozetta, and I love it. I'm just in love with the way it turned out. I blocked it yesterday on, it's Sunday today, and on Friday night I had finished the front ribbing because I did a split hem, and I was thinking to myself, oh, I'll just wait and I'll do the back ribbing on Saturday. And then I just sort of went into a frenzy and I finished it, and then I wove in half of the ends. I still haven't woven in the other half of the ends, and there are a ton of ends in this because I forgot about spit splicing. I just forgot about it until the very end. So I didn't do any spit splicing, and then I've just been, weaving in ends. I think I have so many because of the pattern causes you to break the yarn often, but also because I had 10 balls of wool. Last episode, I was very concerned that I wouldn't have enough wool to finish the jumper, and I still think that my yarn was mislabeled. I had 10 balls of DK weight wool. They were from a farm quite local to me in Edinburgh. My dad got them for me for Hanukkah at a farmer's market. I think it was the farmer's market that's down at the bottom of Johnson Terrace next to the under the castle. So if you're local, maybe you could find these wool producers there. I'm not sure the name of the yarn. Anyway, they don't regularly make the same type of yarn, so it wouldn't be possible for me to get more of it. Although I actually found something really similar. I have a bucket of yarn at my parents' house, and I think sometimes they just put stuff in there. They'll be somewhere and they'll see some yarn and they'll think of me, which is very nice of them. But I was at my parents' house the other day for Shabbat, and I found this in my yarn bucket, and I had never seen this before, so they must have just gotten it or thought of me or something. That alarm is still going. Anyway, this is from North Ronaldsay, and it's an island. And I know of North Ronaldsay because the sheep that live there are quite famous. I think that they eat mostly seaweed, and so what the sheep that are being raised for meat to be killed, it has a taste that is different because the diet of the sheep is so different from normal. I didn't know that they had yarn as well, but so I came home to this, and it's very similar if you look at these two right next to each other. This is a bit lighter and it's much thicker. This is 203 meters per 125 grams. So that's about 160 meters per 100 grams, is that right? Because you would divide it by 5 and then times it by 4. Yeah, 160 meters per 100 grams. And this is 150 meters per 50 grams. So this is about twice as thick. But it's really soft. It's actually quite a bit softer than this. But it also has that 3-ply where the different plies are different colors. Although I think that this yarn has 2 white and 1 brown, and this one has 3 different, like 1 close to black and then 2 sort of shades of gray. So it is different, but when I was worried, it seemed that maybe this could come in if I needed something to do like a bind off or something, but I didn't end up needing that. So yeah, I don't think that the yarn was labeled correctly because I'm sure that this isn't a 1,500 meter jumper, because it doesn't look like it. Oh, that's the back. You know, it's probably like, I think that the bust has about 1 or 2 inches of positive ease. So it's probably like a 43-inch bust, fairly cropped. Not that, I'll put it on so that you can see. Anyway, I don't think that this is a jumper that used 1,500 meters of wool. So I think it was probably around 1,000. Anyway, it worked out. I have a little bit of wool left over, just maybe 1/4 of a ball. And you know, the sleeves are a teeny bit short. They're fine, but if I had a whole other ball, I would probably lengthen them by 2 inches. Oh, the alarm stopped. I really hope that, oh, it started again. No, it stopped. I don't think it ever started again. I think that was just my brain filling in the empty space. So anyway, the jumper is finished. I did have enough wool, although it was sort of close. I finished the sleeves and I got the body down to where I wanted the body, and I thought I'll just do as much ribbing at the bottom as looks good and I won't worry too much because I had a whole ball of wool to do the ribbing, which is more than I needed. So I did a split hem, just because I like split hems, and I thought that this would probably have a bit more weight to the fabric than my new to Jen jumper, where I didn't really like the look of the split hem. And it does. I blocked it, and it's really beautiful fabric. I know that the marling means that it sort of obscures any of the shaping, but it is a really beautifully shaped jumper. I hope that you're able to see it. I think I did more rapid sleeve decreases than the pattern called for, but it is still like, you know, it had quite a lot of room in the upper sleeve, which is nice. And I just did, I don't know, maybe 2 inches at the cuff of 1x1 ribbing. Nothing too fancy, and then I did a sewn bind off. For the sleeves, I didn't follow the pattern, I just knit plain for 20 rows, and then I did one every 5th row. Every 5 rows plain, 1 row of decrease, so every 6th row was a decrease. I did no shaping in the body, and I just knit until I thought it was where I wanted it to be. This part required quite a lot of brain power because I was working at a different gauge from the pattern. But I did follow the schematic sort of the pattern quite closely. So if you're interested in making a saddle shoulder jumper and you have gauge or you're feeling brave, I really highly recommend this pattern. I think it looks amazing. I really love this. It's really warm. I think it just looks really nice on me. And yeah, I'm not wearing the best bra right now, but you know, when am I? So here, I wonder if you'll be able to see if I stand up and, can you see? Did a folded over neckband. I'm not sure if I had done that by my last video. I don't think I had. But I made it maybe a little bit shorter than I would have because I was worried about running out of yarn. And I think it's really nice. It's a little bit itchy. This is like the most rustic yarn that I have ever touched or worked with, definitely. In fact, one of the days where I was knitting on it like a lot, it kind of gave me a blister on my finger where I was holding the yarn continentally. Now, I have skin problems specifically on that finger, so I doubt that that would happen to another person. I also have really sensitive skin, but it's kind of saying something if a yarn can give you blisters from knitting with it. So it feels it gained a lot of drape, I guess, when I blocked it, and I blocked it with dish soap because I've had this yarn for quite a long time. I got it in the winter of 2020, and a lot of that time it's been out. I've got this annoying hair. There we go. A lot of that time it's been out, like on my shelves where I was keeping my yarn. We were living in an old, quite dusty house for a while. So yeah, I think that I was getting sort of hives from knitting with it, but I think that that was more of a dust problem because I've been wearing it and I don't get any sort of reaction. But on the days where I was knitting on it a lot, I was getting these like around my waist, which is where I get hives a lot of the time, like really itchy, hivey spots. But since washing it, I haven't had any of that problem. And it's just really nice. I'm so happy with it. I think that it was a really good choice of pattern. I'm glad that I didn't go with the V-neck idea that I was originally going to go with, just because I like this so much. I wouldn't want it to be any other way. Except for the sleeves could be like 2 inches longer. I mean, I say that, but I do always roll up my sleeves when I'm doing anything, and I haven't had to roll these up. But I don't know. It's shorter than I normally make my sleeves, let me just say that. They're definitely not like too short, and maybe I don't have blocking mats or pins here. So maybe if I blocked this and pinned the sleeves out a little bit, I would get a little bit more length. But you know, maybe I'll do that next time I have access to my blocking mats, which are in America. So this is my Lakes pullover. I love it. Highly recommend the pattern. Highly recommend the yarn, with the caveat that it's really itchy. I think like it's fine to wear, but I do feel it, if that makes sense. Like I can wear pretty itchy wool. I don't generally have an issue with it being bothersome to the point where I won't wear something, but I do like feel it being itchy. I'm gonna take it off because it's quite hot. So that project really got a lot of work from me over the past 2 weeks. I think I did a whole sleeve and the body since I last spoke with you, or maybe... No, I'd had done the neckline before because I remember telling the story of forgetting to order dinner for my dad and our friend, and then them having to wait for like an hour because I didn't order it early enough. And I remember talking about that on my podcast 2 weeks ago. So I had done the neckline, but I hadn't done the body and the sleeve, which is quite a lot of work. So my other finished object is a hat that you haven't seen. I did show you this yarn when I bought it in December. I bought it when I was back in Philadelphia for some medical appointments, and I went to my local yarn store there, and they had this new wool, which I sort of fell head over heels with and very impulsively purchased a sweater quantity, which I kind of regret because I made a promise to myself that I was not going to work any more single ply yarns into sweaters, and this is a single ply yarn. So I made a swatch while I was there, which looks like this. The wool is called the Kelborn Cricket something. It's fingering weight. It's really tweedy, as you can see, and it's a single ply. So this was the swatch I made right after I bought it. I made it on 3.5mm needles, and it's just so beautiful and drapey. And the yarn is really pretty, but so normally, a lot of the time if I go out, there's always a swatch in my pocket, and I just like touch it through the day. Cause it's good to see how things wear. And that, I don't know, I've been doing that for a long time. But what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, this just isn't wearing very well. And it took such a long time to make this swatch. I spent like a couple hours on it, and you can see that the yarn is very fragile. So that was a longer tail. It just like ripped off in my pocket. So, and it's kind of gained this fuzziness. It's just not really holding up, and I don't want to commit to knitting such a fine jumper if it's not going to last. Like, that marl jumper is going to last forever. I don't know, I feel like it's so, well, it's very rustic, but I feel like it's almost like Kevlar status. It's just, I would be very surprised if that yarn pilled, ever. But this yarn is very delicate. It is a superwash, and it is single ply, so it's not like a surprise, but it was kind of surprising how fast this swatch was wearing. So anyway, I have a sweater's quantity of it. I'm not really that hot on knitting it into a sweater because I don't think it will wear for that long, and it's kind of difficult to knit with because of the tweedy bumps. So I thought, why don't I hold it together and knit something with it and make some accessories, because it's a beautiful wool, but yeah, that would solve quite a lot of my problems. I know that holding a single ply double doesn't technically give it the strength of a two ply because it's not being twisted, but it does give it a little bit more tenacity. If anything, it's thicker, and they kind of get twisted together when you're knitting with them. So I also wanted to break up my sock knitting because I've been knitting the Stephen West Year of Socks 2023, and I wanted to break it up. I'm kind of just taking a little break. Now that I've caught up with the socks, I've been taking a little bit of a break from working on socks all the time. So I made this hat. It's the Manhattan hat by Tori Yu, and I made it because I saw a few others versions that I really liked. I'm not normally a baggy hat person, like I really don't think that it ever looks good on me, but I just wanted to give it a try. And I wanted to use up a lot of yarn. So I originally was like, I can't believe, because this is knit on 3.75mm needles. And I was thinking like, I would knit this yarn single ply on a 3.5. So double ply on a 3.75 seems like a really tight gauge. But I just did it anyway. I wanted to follow the pattern. I trusted the process. So I made an adult small because I have a small head, and I made the double brim version. And here is my hat. It's a bit creased, but that's okay. It's just, it's sort of miles of 1x1 rib. And then it's got these crown decreases. So you have this sort of panel of continued rib, and then on each side it sort of comes in. It's kind of like an arch vibe. So you can knit it shorter, obviously, if you want it to be shorter and not have the baggy bit at the top, or if you want it to be just a single folded brim or not folded brim at all. And so it's kind of a versatile pattern in that way. I think that you could probably figure out how to do the same style of crown decreases top down, and then make it like truly versatile to however much yarn you have, but I'm not there yet. And here it is. It was not a very fast knit, but I didn't really want it to be. I just wanted to sort of enjoy the process, have some mindless knitting that was a bit different from the socks, which aren't really mindless anymore. And I wanted to use up some of this wool, which I've been feeling like kind of guilty for buying. I think that I've been I keep a spreadsheet. I've been keeping a spreadsheet every year of all of the yarn that I buy, and then in meters and in grams, and then I keep a spreadsheet of all of the finished projects that I've done and which yarns I've used and how many meters and how many grams, and I sort of weigh them up against each other. And that I started doing after having a bit of a problem with yarn buying in the year 2019 really. So I started the spreadsheet in 2020. So that really shed light on how much yarn I'm actually using regularly. And in this past year, like since the January of this year, and really in 2022 as well, it wasn't really a problem for me. Like, I have been using the same amount of yarn as I've been buying pretty much, which still, I have a really big stash, so I should, it's better to, I would like to go through more of my stash, but I don't feel like I'm totally off balance anymore. It's nice to use what I'm buying anyway, but I'm still very aware when I make an impulsive sweater quantity purchase that it's not really part of the plan. Like, it's not that it's like for the spreadsheet, but like I'm aware that that balance is sort of shifting. So I've been wanting to use this yarn for something, because I was feeling kind of bad about the impulsivity of the purchase. I also think that day I had been having quite a difficult day. When I've been going to Philadelphia, it's for some really stressful medical reasons, and I have to get sort of tests and scans, and it's a really difficult time, so I don't really feel pressure on myself. I think that as time passes, as I have more of these, I learn the different ways that I'm reacting to it, and I'm not too harsh on myself in that situation. Also, it's not that big of a deal, But I had this sort of grisly feeling about the yarn. I felt bad that it was just sitting there, that I wasn't using it, because I've been using my sweater quantities pretty fast, and I made this hat. That was quite a long explanation for why I chose this yarn. I also really like the yarn. It wasn't that much fun to knit with. It's quite bumpy, so it's kind of hard to get an even tension. And I would say that was exacerbated with holding it double. But I did get used to it. But by a couple of inches into this hat, I was really enjoying it. I might actually make another one of these the exact same. I love the way that this looks. And it has some of that like bagginess at the top. I wonder if the top of my head is in the frame. Well, I don't think me going like this is really gonna give you a good idea. I think it looks really nice. And it's very warm. And it fits me really well. So it's just a total win. It took about a week to knit. I worked on it quite regularly and gave a lot of time to it. And I really recommend this pattern. It's got a lot of stretch to it. One thing I will say is that I did a twisted German cast on, and everyone talks about that cast on being really stretchy. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. I do not find this to be a stretchy cast on. Like, you see what I mean? This is the stretch of the fabric. Maybe I'm just doing it wrong. I did learn it like so many years ago, and I have not checked up since on how, like, I haven't double checked the technique, but I started doing it maybe 7 years ago. So I should probably check. I might actually not be doing that cast on. Anyway, I didn't do a very stretchy cast on. It says to do a tubular cast on in the pattern, but I was like, if it's gonna be double folded, you're not seeing that cast on, so I don't think I need to do it. And it's actually quite good to have that non-stretchy band, because with the double cast on, it ends up being like at the bottom of the hat and it keeps it on my head. I had a problem recently where I made a hat where it falls off my head. So the non-stretchy cast on ended up being good. Although if you're not doing the double fold over brim, you should probably do a stretchier cast on. Maybe Twisted German is that cast on for you, but it's not for me. And it ends, one thing about the pattern is that's cool, is that you're given instructions for how to do the decreases knitwise so that you flip it inside out when it's done, just because I guess a lot of people find knitwise decreases to be more pleasurable to knit. But there's also instructions for you to do it purlwise and not flip it out inside out when you're done. So that's nice. I feel like that's like a quality of life pattern element. It ends with a 3-needle bind off, which doesn't look that good. But you know, these hats that are in style right now that I don't like the neon ones that are like, have that big thing, have really obvious ugly seams at the top. I'm not saying that this is an ugly seam, but I am saying that it's in keeping. Like it's viewing that instead of the way I view it, which is like lazy production cost cutting to have a big ugly seam at the top. It's sort of interpreting it as a design element and sort of incorporating the seam as a design element of the pattern, because you bind off with a 3-needle bind off. So I thought that that was interesting. I think in the future I might do a sewn bind off if I make more of these, but you know, if I'm making them for friends who aren't knitters, they're not gonna care, and 3-needle bind off is easy. I think at the end of the day, this is a really good use for this yarn. I'm sure I mentioned that I was holding it double. I used just over a skein, so it's quite heavy as hats go. But yeah, I did the double fold as well. So you could definitely make it with one skein or 200 meters of yarn. So that is my second finished object. I'm really happy with it. I knit a lot on it on the train, and I went to my friend's graduation, which was 3 years after she actually graduated because of COVID delays, but I knit on this during the graduation, and yeah, it was really nice to have a project like this to break up the sock monotony a little bit. So those are my two finished. Oh, I actually wanted to show you. I know that this isn't like really that orange, but I do have a thing where unknowingly I just knit orange hats for myself, or mostly orange hats. So here's my muscle bear hat that I made. Oh, it took me so long. So that's orange. This is kind of orange. And then here's maybe the best thing I've ever knitted. It's my beret number 7. Which I don't know if I've talked about this on my channel before, but it's from a Vogue knitting magazine. And it's just, I don't know, it took so long. It's lace weight cables. It's gorgeous. And so I love it so much. But they're all orange, kind of. This is like brownie orange, but I do think it comes off as orange. What can I say? I love an orange hat. Next, I will tell you about my Harlow sweater, which is the first of my works in progress. My Harlow sweater might not look too different from when you last saw it. I don't exactly remember how far I'd gotten, but I did end up unraveling some of it because I wanted it to have a smaller neckline than in the pattern. I'm gonna stick to the pattern for this project mostly, but the pattern pictures, the neckline is really wide, and I don't want a wide neckline. I feel like a lot of my jumpers, the neckline just kind of stretches out, and I I just don't like that. I don't want to have to worry about my neck being cold, and I don't want to have to worry about like my t-shirt showing through. Normally, like, I'm a pretty low maintenance person, you know? I can't be worrying about wearing a specific t-shirt with a specific jumper. It's just not part of my life plan. But I do like it when the jumpers are close enough in the neck that I don't have to worry about it. So I'm modifying the pattern a little bit so that I can have a smaller neckline. And I don't want to do the big funnel neck. I just want to do like a nice little, maybe folded over, although it was such a slog in the marled jumper one, the folded over neckline. Anyway, I'll deal with that when I get to it. I wanted to make the neckline smaller, and that's my cat. You're trouble. So, yeah. I ripped back my front panel. So it starts with an, hi. It starts with an I-cord, which makes this really nice detail sort of in the back of the shoulder. I think that this is a Japanese, like a design element, like a way of designing drop shoulders that originated in Japan. Although I don't know why I know that. So I would maybe double check that if you wanted to verify that information. I'll start at the beginning. This is the Harlow sweater by Caidree. I'm knitting it with spin cycle and alpaca wool, and I'm quite close to the beginning. Oh, my cat's so cute, but he's totally, I don't know if you can see him, but okay, here. That's so sweet, Fergie. I know that a lot of my videos feature my cat heavily, but it's not because of anything I'm doing. He's just like this. He's extremely mischievous, very like clingy. He's very cute. And if I'm sitting down, he likes to be nearby. He also loves yarn, so it makes sense that he's so involved. I hope you can see him. Okay, well, I guess I'll show you. I'm not sure what is currently being pinned by Fergus or not. So I made this swatch, and I didn't like it. So I used a different contrast, and I do like it more. He's gonna attack me, Fergie. If you have a cat, what do you do in this sort of situation? I feel like I really don't want to kick him off my lap. But also, I can't do what I was doing with him on my lap. Maybe he'll get bored. Okay, I think I have to kick him off because he's biting. Fergus, I love you. You're the best cat, but it's time. Okay, he left. It was my fault. Here's what I've got. This is the back panel. Hard to show you. So this is the I-cord that it starts with. And then I chose to do the I-cord in the lightest color of spin cycle that I'm using for it to stand out. And then here's the back. Here are you can see the short rows that shape the top of the back. You can also see that it's gonna be pretty big on me. This is gonna be on my back, but you get the idea. God, it's gonna be really big. That's fine. It's how it's supposed to be. So I had originally knitted this front, this is like one of the front panels. It's gonna come around like this. I had originally knitted it and then I pulled it out and picked up 5 extra stitches along the I-cord. I think that for my size, you end up with a neckline gap at the back of 30 I-cord stitches. So I'm picking up an extra 5 on each side, so that gives me 20. So that's about a third smaller at the back, which I think should make it smaller, but not so small that it's unwearable. And I might cast on fewer stitches between the two front panels as well, in a way that it balances out with the extra stitches that I have picked up. I haven't done it yet, so I can't really explain it properly because I don't really understand. But, so yeah, this is what the spin cycle is looking like right now. I'm knitting this on size 5mm needles, that's a US size 8. And so far I've only used the darkest color of the spin cycle except for this line. And here's it next to the swatch I made with the other contrast lace weight. So you can see there's quite a big difference. The alpaca really gives it a halo, and I think blends quite well with even the darkest color. There's not much of a difference between it and the lightest color, like you can't really see it. So I think that it's really gonna help meld the colors together well. This is moving kind of quickly because the needles are pretty big, but I just haven't worked on it that much over the past 2 weeks. Now it's gonna be one of my main focuses. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm just excited about this project. I'm trying to be a little bit more relaxed about the yarn management. I think that the colors will be great no matter what happens, and I just don't want to be too stressed out about it because that's not very much fun. So yeah, that is my Harlow sweater. I do like this swatch a lot. Even though I don't think that the colors look good, it feels nice. I made a swatch without a contrast color and I didn't like the way that it felt. So yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say about this. This is a very soft project, and so it's quite nice to work on the hands. Although it doesn't have that sort of sticky, rustic satisfaction that you get with the more rustic yarns. But there's definitely pros to this too. And the hobby yarn is treating me well. I kind of had my doubts, but it's nice. It doesn't have any silk in it. It's just alpaca. And it's got a bit of fluff, which I like, and it's very soft. So that is that. Now on to my last work in progress to show you. It is my pair of socks. They're the woven check socks by Stephen West. Woven checks, I think. I'm not sure how far these were when I last recorded. But so these are the two colors that I'm using. They're both from Woolly Mammoth Fiber Co. Woolly Mammoth yarn. I don't know. Woolly Mammoth. It's hard to remember what the other little like words in a yarn company's name are. Okay, I don't actually need to. Oh, there's my. I've been looking for my Knitting Barber cord, and it was in this sock bag. So since I have a limited amount of this yarn, because I bought a sock set, so it had 100 grams of a main color, and then I think the one that I bought actually had 2 different minis that were each 20 grams. I figured I would knit them sort of 2 at a time, but not like row by row, 2 at a time, so that I get the most even result, because I probably am going to run out of this mini. So I have knit them both. I'm planning on knitting, well, I knit this was the first one I knit. And I did the leg as long as I wanted the leg to be, which is sort of matching my painting triangle socks that I made last month. I really like the length of those. So I made these to match. Also, it's kind of shorter than in the pattern, so I thought that would be good for yarn conservation. FYI, my painting triangle socks, I used 20 grams of the contrast color. So I'm probably gonna get really close with the contrast color with this as well. So yeah, so I thought I'll knit up to the heel flap and then I'll maybe do the feet 2 at a time, or well like knit the gussets and then do the after the gussets to a time. I'm hesitant to knit anything like truly to a time, mostly because I always mess up. And it's quite tangly, so it means that this won't be a portable project anymore because I'll be in a big tangle. Why is this so tangled, may I ask? Oh, it's because I put this down in the middle of a stitch. That's annoying, whatever. I've started the heel flap. I've just started the heel flap on this. So I've knit the second sock up to and now I'm starting the heel flap. I kind of thought I was further on the heel flap, but I haven't knit this since I cast on that hat. So I do find this pattern quite nice to knit. It's very intuitive. The only problem is that it has a ton of purling. Half of it is purling, so I wouldn't be able to knit it on like a 9-inch circular because I find it hard to purl on the little teeny needles, which is why I've been using the magic loop for it. I still don't know how much of the contrast color, how long it's gonna last. I'm hopeful it will last the whole time. And also, the further I get on these socks, the less I care if they're so exactly the same. So yeah, it's nice to be free from that worry in a way. I do really like this yarn. I think that my color combo is nice. And I don't have anything else to say about these. I've been wearing my painting triangle socks a lot, and I really enjoy wearing them, so I think I'm going to enjoy wearing these as well. These are going to be now my primary travel project again. My hat took that spot for a while, but now these are back in motion, and we're expecting the new Stephen West pattern to be out soon, so maybe this week. It's not normally like at the very beginning of the month, but it is normally like in the first week or two. So I don't feel like I have to get these done before that pattern comes out at all, but it's nice to be like not behind anymore. I think it was because the painting triangle socks went so fast that I really managed to catch up. And my video series where I knit those, I'm having a lot of fun with. I didn't upload the painting triangle sock vlog yet, but I will do that this coming weekend. So the weekend after this one, I'll upload that video, and I hope that you guys like it. I have a lot of fun filming those. Although I will say that sometimes when other people who make videos post videos like that, I'm less interested, but it's funny to be on the other side of it. It's okay if you're not interested in them, but it's sort of fun to really go through all of the sock making process together. That's the update on where I am with the woven check socks. I do like them. I hope that we get a single color sock pattern next. I don't know if that's likely, but I would love that because I have some yarn that would be great for single color socks, and I would really like to get using that. So that is all of the knitting that I have to show you. I haven't bought any yarn. I have used a lot of it, which is pretty cool. It's been a pretty warm week in Edinburgh. I finished all of my classes, so now I'm just working on finals, and I'm trying to be really diligent about making sure that I actually have something to show at the end of each day that I work, because if I had my way, I would just keep reading and I would never write anything. And you can't turn in a final unless you write it down. So that's the thing that I'm working on. It's difficult to actually get words on the page, but you know, it's just part of the process. I think just learning. I feel like I'm learning how to approach this sort of task better each time that I do it, hopefully. I think that today I'm going to go to this food truck nearby. There's a restaurant that I love, which is a Korean restaurant called Kim's Mini Meals, and I think they're affiliated with this food truck somehow. So I'm gonna go to the food truck, see how it is. And so that will be my outing. I also bought an indoor exercise bike, which I think is gonna be amazing, but you have to put it together. So that's not gonna be amazing. I hate putting stuff together. So it says people have said on the website that it takes about an hour to put together. It will probably take me more, like 3 hours, and I don't have any tools. So I probably should open it up, see what tools I need, go get the tools, and then do it on another day. But putting together furniture and stuff like this is my least favorite thing to do. It just makes me want to disappear when I see that I have to put together furniture. So I'm pretty pumped to be able to ride, but I have to do this thing that I don't want to do before I get to do it. But I bought my own pair of clippy bike shoes before I was renting them from, well, not renting, but I would get them from the spin studio that I was going to. But I haven't got a spin studio in Edinburgh, and I went to one class at one place here and I really didn't like it. So I'm glad to have my own bike so I can sort of do exactly what I want. But I got the shoes and I have a mat to protect my nice floor. So now all that's left to do is to put together the bike. But I just am not looking forward to doing it, It's probably gonna be okay. I could ask my parents to help me, but I have in mind the time my dad helps me put this picture up. It's not a painting. And he opened the thing for the frame and threw the instructions behind him. And I'm he'll destroy my bike. So I should just do it myself. So that's also a task that I'm gonna hopefully do today, or start. I should open the box today. I don't have to finish it today. But I'd love to be able to get on it and do some cycling. What else have I been up to? Not much, to be honest. The bike mess, box, mat, all of this stuff is why I'm recording over here instead of where I normally record, because it's really messy over there. We had daylight savings time, so now it's really late at night, until 8 p.m. So that's really nice. Although it's not 8 p.m. now, it's the middle of the day. So, all right, that's everything that I have to share. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you liked seeing my projects. This week, it wasn't a lot of brainstorming new projects or swatching. It was mostly just, making steady progress on some things that I've already had going on. And one new thing. So hope that you have a really good 2 weeks, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.